Doug, have you ever taught through the unjust manager parable in Luke 16? I don't think I've ever heard a sermon on it my entire life. What exactly is it asking Christians to grow on?
Okay,
You should probably just give a quick reminder what that parable
so
is.
the unjust manager, I'm assuming, is the one about the master calls the manager in to give an accounting. He was doing a slipshod job. He was going to be fired, and then so the manager called in all the creditors of his employer, his master, and said, "What do you owe my master? 100 of this. We'll write down 80. 50 of this, write down 25.
Yeah.
And then the parable concludes with the Lord saying, the children of this world are shrewder than the children of light.
And his master commends him for being shrewd.
For being shrewd, right. Yeah. Now, the first thing to get out of the way that worries some fastidious Christians is when the Lord says the second coming, the Lord's going to come like a thief in the night. That doesn't mean he's going to steal something.
Right.
The point of the metaphor is the suddenness and unexpectedness of a burglary, not the violation of the ninth commandment.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same thing here. The thing that the master commends in this servant is his shrewdness, and particularly his shrewdness when it came to the use of unrighteous mammon in order to win friends and influence people. And Jesus says elsewhere that we should, by means of unrighteous mammon, we should handle money in such a way as to not be contaminated by it, and we do that by being generous. Now, this unjust steward was being generous with somebody else's money.
Right.
Right. But the thing that was being commended was not that dishonesty, but rather the shrewdness of understanding how people respond to generosity.
Okay. Can you just unpack that last statement a little bit more? I don't think I got that.
So there's a way of giving stuff away that just creates an entitlement mentality.
Okay.
You start dropping lots of money on someone, or if someone grows up in a wealthy household and they're never taught to work or whatever, they just have the expectation of money. It's my birthright. But then by being stingy and chintzy with resources, you're teaching selfishness. If kids grow up in a home where dad is tight-fisted and won't bestow anything on anybody, they learn to imitate that, or they learn that they become bitter and hard-bitten. And there's a sweet spot in between where you're generous intelligently.
Okay.
Okay. Not so generous and so thoughtless in your generosity that you create the entitlement mentality, and not so stingy that you create resentment or there's a proverb in the Old Testament. There's a proverb that says that if someone has a bunch of grain stored up and won't sell it, the people curse him. Right. There's a certain kind of shrewdness that understands when to be liberal and when to be disciplined, and
Got it.
And that unjust steward understood the mechanism of it, but not the honesty.
Got it.